Honestly, I was gonna start this video off with something along the lines of The Dinosaur Chronicles is one of the worst dinosaur movies I've ever seen, or The Dinosaur Chronicles is one of the weirdest worst dinosaur movies I've ever seen, but I feel like I've said that about a lot of dinosaur movies in the past, so to avoid sounding like a broken record, I'm just gonna go ahead and say that The Dinosaur Chronicles was mid. The Dinosaur Chronicles was made by Mark and John Polonia, head of Polonia Brothers Entertainment. In case you don't know these fellas, the brotherly duo have dedicated their livelihood to creating micro-budget movies. And that's not a jab at their work. Mark himself has stated multiple times in the past that his movies have gone beyond, or in this case below, the realms of low-budget status, and instead calls them micro-budget movies. But if you're familiar with my channel, you'd have known that already because this isn't the first Polonia Brothers dinosaur movie I've covered here. I've talked about most, if not all of them to some extent, but the one that I really went in depth with, if that's what you want to call it, is their 1994 film Saurians. I have a whole video on that movie if you want to know more about it, but bottom line is I'm aware of their catalog of dinosaur movies and their overall history in filmmaking. I went into a bit more detail about it in my Saurians video, so I'm not going to bother going through it again. However, one thing I will mention is that unlike the rest of their lineup of dinosaur movies, The Dinosaur Chronicles was the only mysterious one to me. While the others were available to some extent or at least had some kind of internet footprint, there was really nothing about The Dinosaur Chronicles. And if you know anything about me, I'm a stubborn asshole, so when I learn about these kinds of movies that have next to no information about them even on the good old internet, I'm determined to find them myself. Luckily, I was able to do exactly that. While I wasn't able to find a lone copy of The Dinosaur Chronicles, I did end up finding out it was released in a 4-movie DVD pack called Galaxy of Terror. What was better is that this movie box set was being sold on eBay for $130. Okay, you guys want to know how stubborn I was? I was legit debating dropping money on this shit. No way would I've made my money back even with a video on it, but a part of me was thinking about how funny it might be if I did. Spoiler alert, I came to my senses and realized no, it's in fact not funny to spend this much money irresponsibly on a really bad movie. Luckily I was able to find a copy for like 25 bucks plus shipping, and now I'm a proud owner of The Dinosaur Chronicles, and like 3 other Polonia produced movies I'll probably never watch. Honestly, I don't know what I was expecting from this. As you likely already know, the movie sucked. It wasn't really good on any level aside from unintentionally funny moments, but let's be honest, you're not here for my review of the movie. You're here because, just like me, you guys are stubborn assholes too, and want to spend the next 15-20 minutes learning what this movie is about, even though we're fully aware that the chances of us being disappointed by the results are astronomically high. Well, you're in luck, because I'm the idiot who's willing to tell you all about it. I mean, I have to make my money back somehow. I spent $30 on this shit. Alright, without further ado, let's take a look at The Dinosaur Chronicles. Despite being one of the 4 films in this DVD box set, The Dinosaur Chronicles actually has 2 stories put together in a single film. The first story is called The Prehistoric Island, and revolves around a trio of friends going on a yacht trip before they're swept away by a storm and are marooned on a dinosaur-infested island. The second story is called Dawn of the Dinosaur, and takes place sometime after the fallout of World War III, where mutants and dinosaurs now rule over a destroyed and near-desolate city. Despite being 2 stories, the total runtime only comes out to about 70 minutes. Seriously, the Polonia brothers managed to take 2 grandiose concepts, one being an island survival story, and the other literally being a post-apocalyptic story, and shoving them both into a film that's just over an hour long. How, you may ask, is this even possible? Well, it's best to just show you rather than try to explain it. We begin the film with a wall of text that basically says just because most of the world's been explored doesn't mean there isn't an island full of dinosaurs out there somewhere, before cutting to, holy shit, Todd Carpenter, the same dude who played Hunter in Saurians, and he's being chased by a poorly made puppet of a carnivorous dinosaur with horns and stegosaurus plates glued onto it. Anyways, Carpenter over here faces the same fate he faced in Saurians, and gets eaten by the dinosaur off screen and everything. We then cut to the movie's opening credits sequence that showcases decent stop motion and puppet dinosaur models? Oh, well, that makes sense. All jokes aside, the stop motion and puppet dinosaurs are, without a doubt, the highlight of this film. Not only are they animated pretty well, but it's also original footage of them. Some of the models do look familiar with Brett Piper's previous works. For example, I'm pretty sure the Centrosaurus and Brontosaurus models are from his 1996 Dinosaur Babes movie. On top of that, there's also an array of dinosaurs here. There's a theropod dinosaur of some kind attacking an ankylosaur. There's a Ceratosaurus looking dinosaur feeding on some flesh. Some random shots of other dinosaurs like a Stegosaurus, a Parasaurolophus, and my personal favorite from the bunch, even an old style depiction of a Spinosaurus. It's so rare to see one in this style depicted in fictional media, and out of all of the films to actually feature it, it was one made by the Polonia brothers. Weird and unexpected, but a nice surprise nonetheless. I actually became so interested in this sequence that I simply wanted to know more about it. I ended up reaching out to Brett Piper and asked him about his involvement with this movie. He confirmed to me that he's never even heard of the Dinosaur Chronicles. Turns out, these dinosaur props and stop motion effects were just test footage for all of the different models. And because Piper and Mark have been friends and have worked closely together on projects for a long time, Mark would just repurpose a lot of that footage in his movies, though Piper was never told about it. According to him, there's probably several Polonia movies out there that has his name credited in them that he doesn't know about. Regardless, the effects are still impressive, and I'm kind of glad they made it into the movie. Also, while we're on the opening credits, I couldn't help but notice just the weird little add-in text for one of the actors. They couldn't even be bothered to match the same font, which, I don't know, I just found really funny. Also, I know this doesn't seem like a big deal, but remember this, because it will be relevant for later. After the opening credits, with the only competently made elements of the film, we transition to this dude named Jake, who finds out he won a sweepstakes contest that made him $1.2 million richer. Maybe throw some of that money in the movie's budget, you might be able to hire actual actors.
Mac, it's me, Jake. I just won the Golden Digest sweepstakes. I'm rich.
You're kidding. How much?
1.2 million.
Congratulations, that's great.
So after winning this money, Jake decides to take his friend Mac and his alcoholic twin brother Joseph on a yacht trip. We get a really corny montage of the brothers getting ready, and they kind of just throw Joseph in the back there. They then show off a lot of stock footage to make it seem like they're going to the coast, but really they're probably just on their wooden patio in the backyard or something. Anyways, it doesn't matter, because their yacht trip ends up getting cut short after a bad storm causes them to fall overboard and opens up a portal, I guess? I'm confused. Doesn't that just make the text from the very beginning pointless? Because they made it seem like the modern world still has unexplored places, but then these guys are stuck through a portal to a point in time that's not the modern world? Or is this not supposed to be a portal? Also, this is what the inside of their quote-unquote yacht looks like. It's literally just their living room. The movie then cuts to the following day after that whole ordeal. The separated trio wake up on an uncharted island that houses all sorts of badly made props, including this giant spider. And I love Joseph's reaction to the spider too.
No spider's that big.
Fuck, that's actually kind of funny. Anyways, Mac and Jake find each other and go off looking for Joseph, who gets trapped in a web and is about to be killed by the inbred spider, before Mac and Jake come to his rescue.
Come on, you ugly thing. Let's go. Come on.
I'm not joking, that's literally the sound effects for the spider. Holy shit, that's amazing. After the three are finally reunited, the movie just kind of meanders a lot. Really, the whole movie is just these guys walking around the island and complaining about their predicament, while intercut with scenes featuring an array of very inconsistent dinosaur effects. Sometimes we'll get random sequences of dinosaur hand puppets, like this Carnotaurus eating eggs from a Triceratops nest. A very interesting and very random choice. You could literally see the man's arm. That's amazing. Holy shit. They didn't even try. I mean, of course they didn't. Why are we surprised about that? Sometimes we'll get a poorly made prop like the weird raptor prop from the beginning. We'll also sometimes get more shots of Piper's stop motion dinosaurs. And then we'll get dinosaur models like a random shot of a Stegosaurus toy used in what I believe is some sort of forced perspective shot. And a pterosaur that makes a really dumb creature sound effect. In this particular scene, the pterosaur attacks the trio and they attempt to fend it off with effort that's akin to the coat hanger scene in Birdemic. And then the pterosaur vomits on Joseph. At least, I hope that's vomit. Either way, you might want to keep your mouth closed, dude. At some point, Mac comes across a crashed airplane, and, I mean, are you really surprised that it's just a toy airplane? Anyways, after the discovery, they set up camp for the night, and this is where the story actually tries to add more layers to our characters. This entire movie, Jake has just been criticizing Joseph on his alcoholism and lack of care or desire for anything that's not booze. In fact, that's the running joke in this movie. Joseph had been carrying an inconsistently filled bottle on hand this entire movie and is constantly drinking from it. I mean, it's a little funny, but the movie does want this moment of Jake chastising Joseph for his drunk incompetence to be serious. Though it's not like a super important aspect. Joseph gets angry at Jake's outburst and leaves, and Mac defends his brother, but whatever, it's not all that important. What's even more important than friend-related disputes is the fact that there is an active volcano on the island as well. And this is what it looks like. Literally just a pile of rocks with a little campfire on top, if that. Though we shouldn't underestimate this volcano, because when it eventually does erupt, it ends up killing everything and forcing our characters to jump back into the ocean for their survival. The movie ends with them spotting a stock footage sailboat and swimming towards safety. And that's where the movie ends. About 47.5 minutes into this 70-minute film. The rest of the time is given to the next part of the film called Dawn of the Dinosaur, which is really nothing too special. You'd think the concept of a dinosaur and mutant apocalypse sounds like an entertaining and cool idea, but in this particular movie, it's pretty slow. The movie starts with an explosion followed by a voiceover that states that in the near future, 2007 to be exact, a war broke out amongst the world, causing a global-wide nuclear event that would wipe out most of life on Earth, but somehow resurrected the dinosaurs and mutant humans. But, you know, this was made on a very cheap budget, so the post-apocalyptic world looks like this, and the dinosaurs consist of close-up shots of puppets. We're then introduced to Scorpion, who's played by Dave Fife, which is the name that was tacked on to the opening credits in the beginning of the movie that I told you guys to remember. But this is not for that reason, still keep the name in mind. Anyways, Scorpion is one of the few survivors in this apocalypse, and he wanders through a building until he runs into Drax, played by John Polonia. And their introduction to each other is just really funny to me.
Who the hell are you?
Who the hell are you?
My name's Scorpion.
My name's Drax.
Just the line delivery, and I mean this with complete endearment, of the two biggest looking nerds I've ever seen introducing themselves with names that are meant to be badass is hilarious. Anyways, the two stick together and we learn from their talking that they're like 3 weeks into this apocalypse, and that the atomic bomb brought back the dinosaurs or something. How, you may ask? Your guess is as good as mine. The movie never really explains it. They then run into a mutant, who I guess are advanced in this world. Not only is this particular one dressed in armor, but it's also carrying a gun. The mutant gets shot down by Scorpion and Drax though, and it's one of the only ones we actually see in this movie. However, according to Scorpion, there's more, even bigger mutants out there, one of them being the leader named Caesar, who's determined to bring back the dinosaurs and take over the world. The two then make their way to a computer room where they show off some more of Piper's stop-motion dinosaurs on the monitors, which is supposed to indicate they're in the process of taking over the world, so the two are determined to track down this Caesar guy to stop him once and for all. Luckily, Scorpion knows exactly where Caesar is, because I think it's implied he was once imprisoned by the mutant leader, and he leads Drax through an underground system that runs through the city. Before long, the two are hunted by a carnivorous Triceratops puppet. You know what? I'll give them props for trying to be unique. It's not every day a dinosaur movie shows off a carnivorous ceratopsian. Or maybe I'm just grasping at straws to find something to appreciate about this movie. Anyway, the two are chased before Drax is eventually killed by the dinosaur. Forcing Scorpion to continue on his own in his hunt for Caesar. He manages to somehow get into the building of Caesar's lair without any trouble, and wanders into a room with a masked man on a computer that we've seen on and off throughout the film. When unmasked, the man is revealed to be the mutant leader, Caesar. At least I think that's what's being implied here. And the movie ends with the mutant presumably killing Scorpion off screen. Dawn of the Dinosaur definitely felt misplaced in this movie, both with its premise and quality. If you noticed, it looks different in terms of quality than the prehistoric island, as if Dawn of the Dinosaur was shot more recently. Well, that's exactly what happened. You remember earlier when I pointed out that weird name add-on for Dave Fife in the opening sequence? Well, Fife has actually known and been friends with Mark for over 20 years, meeting him all the way back during their college years. Having a common interest in movies, the two became quick friends, and before he knew it, Fife was being invited to feature in one of Mark's monster movies, a Bigfoot horror film called Among Us. Since then, Fife has been a part of several Polonia-produced projects, including the Dinosaur Chronicles. Knowing this, I immediately came to the guess that the prehistoric island was shot earlier than Dawn of the Dinosaur, and as a result, the credits didn't initially include Dave Fife's name. But when they eventually made Dawn of the Dinosaur and put it together with the prehistoric island, because Fife's name was the only one missing in that beginning credit scene, instead of making a whole new beginning credit sequence, they just added his name to the already existing one. I don't really know why I harped on this, but for whatever reason, I just found it kind of funny. And I ended up doing a little bit of research on Fife's name just out of curiosity and found out that he runs his own website called Retro Injection, which is a site dedicated to covering and reminiscing about 80s and 90s pop culture. I ended up getting in contact with Fife via email, and he was nice enough to answer my several questions regarding the Dinosaur Chronicles for my video. One of the questions was, why was the film made this way, having two movies put together in one? According to Fife's words, the Dinosaur Chronicles is an anthology comprised of the prehistoric island and Dawn of the Dinosaur. The first segment, the prehistoric island, was shot in the 90s before I had met the Polonia brothers. This vignette was paired with our new production of Dawn of the Dinosaur to make a feature-length release. Dawn of the Dinosaur was a script treatment the late John Polonia did on my unproduced sci-fi film, Chem War. I had written the script with so much enthusiasm that the finished movie would have cost a fortune. John pared it down to a micro-budget production, adding dinosaur elements to some of my post-apocalyptic themes. Dawn of the Dinosaur has since become my most cherished Polonia film due to starring with John, who was one of my dearest friends. Here's one of my favorite stories about John. We were attending a monster movie convention in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Bill Hinsman, who was the first zombie in the original Night of the Living Dead, was one of the guests. Mr. Hinsman was dressed in what appeared to be his movie costume. I asked him if it was, and he scoffingly replied, "No, that's probably in the Smithsonian somewhere." I told John about the conversation, and he replied, "Yeah, right next to the vest I wore in Dawn of the Dinosaur." I also asked Fife about the location and budget of Dawn of the Dinosaur. He wrote back saying, "Dawn of the Dinosaur was filmed in Mansfield, Pennsylvania, and downtown Elmira, New York. These locations are about 40 minutes from each other. Polonia shoots are famously economical. We shot Dawn of the Dinosaur in 1 or 2 days. I don't know the exact budget, but I would be shocked if it was over $40, with gas being the main expense. We're talking plastic guns, rubber puppets, and a cast and crew totaling 4 people. Need another character? Throw on this face mask." Dawn of the Dinosaur was very much a silly guerrilla production, and I do it all over. And that was The Dinosaur Chronicles, a very weird movie, but I always love learning about the process behind them, even if to some it doesn't seem all that remarkable. To me, I still see some value in how even micro-budget projects are made and what they mean to the people making them. I want to thank Brett Piper and David Fife for answering my questions regarding this movie. I know I may have ripped into it a little bit, but it's all in good fun. I'll leave links to their respective sites in the description down below if you want to see what these guys are up to these days. Also, Danny and I did a commentary video on the Dinosaur Chronicles for my Patreon, and we had a really fun time with it. I don't know for sure if it'll be out by the time this video is done, but I do plan on releasing it sometime this month. If you're interested in that, you could always check out the links in the description below. The Patreon is very simple, it's just one $3 tier. For $3 a month, you get access to my Patreon exclusive commentary series where Danny and I watch really bad dinosaur movies every month and commentate on them as we watch them. It's a pretty fun time. And speaking of Patreon, I want to thank my Patreon members including Garen Walker, Isaiah Cole, Kilbaro Khan, Blindberg, Eric, Julian, Galactic Breaker, PD19, Studio DM Wing, Darwinius, Gambit, and Greasy Pulsating Frog. You're all amazing and I appreciate your support. Thank you all so much for watching, and please, have a nice day.